Welcome back to my ADHD diary, where I'm currently discussing cognitive challenges. So there's the usual always losing my phone, my keys, or whatever object I've just put down. This isn't just forgetfulness, it's linked to working memory challenges. Studies show that because attention-related encoding and then retrieval processes are impaired in an ADHD brain, we may not fully focus on or prioritise storing the location of an object in memory at the time of placement, nor effectively retrieve that information later. This is also linked to the trait of leaving things everywhere, like the time I left my guitar on a train platform on the way to a gig, or the countless leather gloves and purses and sunglasses that I've left in toilets and buses and other random places. Zoning out during conversations, and I apologise for anyone that has experienced this with me. I find myself zoning out during conversations, especially if the topic doesn't feel engaging or if I have other things on my mind at the time. This may be linked to sustained attention difficulties. However, I couldn't find enough solid evidence to confirm this. One finding suggests that the frontal regions of the ADHD brain, responsible for sustained attention, require unusually high levels of activation to stay engaged. So when I zone out, it's not really intentional. On the flip side to this, I've had to train myself not to interrupt during stimulating conversations, but the impulse to speak often sits just below the surface, and I feel frustrated holding back, and sometimes the urge to blurt out my contribution is too strong to resist. I also catch myself unintentionally changing the subject mid-conversation when I'm distracted by a thought or suddenly remember something. This is usually because I'm worried I'm going to forget. So I know I'm doing it, but the impulse is so automatic that I can't stop it. If more than one person talks to me during a conversation or demands my attention at the same time, which is more like it, I feel instantly overwhelmed. My brain struggles to process multiple streams of information, which makes me shut down or retreat entirely from the situation or conversation. And on top of this, I find small talk particularly frustrating and draining. I much prefer deeper, more meaningful conversations where I feel truly connected and engaged. And I assume that's to do with the amount of sort of stimulation that I require to keep my attention. So I've noticed for a while now that I can't seem to leave any second where I'm not doing something. So I'm constantly task switching, which I believe is a trait of ADHD. But the funny thing is that also our brains don't work with task switching. We don't actually our brain doesn't like to switch tasks. It's actually quite stressful on the brain. But I do find myself doing it all the time. Like the other day, I had a TV program going on in the background while I was editing a video, and I kept pausing the TV every time I needed to listen to myself. But whenever I was editing it, I would put the TV back on. And then I got distracted by an Instagram post, which then reminded me that I needed to send an email. So I went into my email, and then I got reminded on an email that I needed to pay a bill. So I went into my banking app, paid a bill. Then came back to the edit, and then I paused the TV, and then I unpaused it. And it was just, I realised I was trying to do like 6 things at the same time. And it's like a compulsion. I can't stop myself from doing it. And I do think this is linked a little bit to, or if I don't do that now, I'll forget. But yeah, it's a massive compulsion, and it can be quite stressful because I'm kind of not really finishing one thing. Well, I am finishing it. A lot of people say that they don't finish tasks. I'm actually really good at finishing tasks. So I will finish 20 in a day. But then, as I said before, sometimes I'll only get 2 a day done or whatever. Yeah. Clumsiness and fine motor challenges. I'm incredibly clumsy, and I often drop things or bump into furniture because my brain has already moved on to the next task before my body has caught up. It's like if I dare to pick something up and think of something at the same time, it's like the signal gets lost or cut off, and my hand will just open automatically and drop it. This happens really often to me, but the frustration never seems to wane. All these behaviours that I've described can be understood through the lens of executive function challenges. So executive functions are the cognitive processes that help with planning, focus, emotional regulation and organisation. When these processes are dysregulated, everyday tasks become more fragmented and chaotic. I consistently feel like I'm trying to live in a world that doesn't suit me. The system doesn't sit right with me. It's incredibly stressful to conform to the constant demands of deadlines and schedules and the endless things I have to remember for work, school, social commitments, family and everything else. Having children has emphasised the internal struggle I have with conforming to societal expectations. It has heightened my sense of overwhelm and shown me how cognitively and emotionally stressful it is to consistently split myself between roles and responsibilities. The mental juggling act of being a parent while navigating my own challenges often leaves me feeling very drained and frustrated. Understanding the why behind these behaviours doesn't make them disappear, but it helps me to find strategies to manage them and gives me a little bit more compassion for myself in the process. It also highlights the importance of creating environments and systems that work with brains that work differently to the norm, not against them.